Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Doc and Lefty program here at the lovely downtown Des Moines studios, webcast1live.com. This is Lefty, as always, bringing you the perspectives you love from the sides you hate, and across the table, back from his extended tour of the Pacific Isles, Doc Patrick Troche. Doc, what's up?
You know, just my weight, not my IQ. I know I say that a lot, but this week it's actually true. The Hawaiians, there's a reason those Polynesians out there are big. And the reason is they cook some of the best stuff you can shake a stick at. They got this stuff called huli huli chicken, and it is awesome. They got this stuff called kalua pork, even more awesome. And then when you add rice and a local favorite called the Loco Moco, which is a hamburger patty, and rice. It's got Spam on it, bacon, and some other meat smothered in gravy. You can't help but to eat the whole plate.
Yeah. No, I would totally eat the whole plate.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to tell you, I'm sort of surprised that you didn't look at the weather and say, you know what? Nope, not going to do it. Iowa, I've been there for my entire life, but not this week.
I was going to stay. It was quite a debate. I was trying to talk my brother into staying because he knew his flight was canceled out of Chicago. And I'm telling you, we were all set and ready to go. And then I took a look at this week's schedule in the office, and I thought, there is no way it would be over 400 calls.
Yeah.
For this week. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I came back and it wasn't too bad. And I think I have a present for you. I don't know if you'll want it or not.
Oh.
But you remember last week when I was saying, listen, this is the land of Obama. Everybody here loves him. Mm-hmm. Apparently that's only in the newspapers. People that I talked to on a regular basis in a lot of the shops really were anti-Obama. And I was really surprised at that. So I got you a shirt.
Okay.
You ready?
I am.
All right, here it is. I thought this would be perfect for you. Can you zoom in on that? Right there. I got that for you. Ah, there. I found that. So would you like that?
I'll take that.
Would you wear it?
I probably will.
All right.
I probably
good deal.
will. Let me check. A medium. You must have thought that I lost more weight than I actually did.
Maddie, do you want to wear that? She goes, no.
I think you got to find somebody skinnier because
is that it?
Yeah,
right.
that'll.
Well, it was sold out. This was the last one they had on the rack. I kid you not, it was the only one they had left. The guy says, yeah, it's our best seller.
That's pretty good. I gotta say that. So Sunday night the snow comes in. Well, Sunday all day, and I waited until about 10 p.m. to go outside and shovel.
Well, that's usual for you.
Well, but see, it didn't stop snowing until like 7 or 8, and then I was doing other stuff, and so about 10 p.m. I was going to go out because I thought there's no way that I'm getting up at 4, 5 in the morning to shovel. And holy smokes, that was really tough. It was really heavy, really wet, and got all that done. Streets half plowed. My street is impossible to drive up if it's got any snow on it because it gets so slippery. But Monday morning, the day after we get dumped with probably 6 to 8 inches worth of snow, I was back in court at 8 a.m. And no one was very happy to be there.
I can imagine.
When the judge comes out and says, "Who ordered this up?" I'm blaming the lawyers. It's not going to be the best day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because because we can blame lawyers for so many things.
Well, and it's what we deserve it. We deserve it.
I would agree.
When you can't stop from getting arrested and you're sitting in jail and the lawyer, I had a guy, this is true. Just recently, I had a guy say to me, "Well, when are you getting me out of jail?" And I said, "I can't. I filed the motion. The judge denied it. There's really nothing else I can do." Well, the law books say that I get 3. And I said, "I don't know what books you're reading because you don't." Well, this guy in here told me I do.
Oh, yeah. Don't you love that?
Yeah. And it becomes my problem now.
Yeah.
And, I set him straight and it's fine. But
we have the same thing in medicine.
Yep.
Except it's called the internet. Well, I found this website that's so obscure that there's only been 2 hits in the last 4 years on it. And it says, and what I really like is when they come in with some crackpot medication And they'll go, well, why don't we try this? I have no idea what that is. Well, how come you don't know what it is?
Yep.
Because it's not really a medication. Oh, it's approved by the FDA. It's not approved by the FDA. If it was, I would know it. That's my job. So today I looked it up, and it honestly, it was approved by the FDA because it was approved by Canada, and there's a reciprocity up there. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think it went through all the testing because I've never heard of it. So anyway, it's always fun to come back to that.
It's a great time.
And
So
it was great. You know, it's good to see Maddie again. DJ Matty G's in the booth.
Naturally.
So, yes, good.
But that's just kind of how things go. So you texted me on Sunday. What are we going to talk about? And I had no earthly idea. Kind of tossing out a couple of things, and then you hit the nail on the head. Said you want to talk about taxes because, and maybe it had something to do with how busy the Capitol building was today. I don't know. We're probably going to get a gas tax here.
Well, you know, and that's what I've been hearing from my Republican friends.
I think it's gonna pass. I think that they want to do it. I think that it's got
has a strong will.
Yep.
Branstad's taking another big run at it.
Yep.
And you know, I think that's just awful. We're also going to talk about other taxes.
Yep, we're going to talk. This is the tax. Now, folks, if you've been listening for a long time, you know that we, from time to time, we will talk about taxes for an entire show. I can't remember the last. It's probably been a few years since the last time we did it, because Doc and I have some obviously different ideas about taxes in general, but we have a lot in common about what we want them to do and how we want them to be spent. And so if you want to call in and yell at me for liking to pay for the stuff that we have allocated, or call and yell at Doc for his unrealistic spending theory, that perfectly fine. Maddie will flash the number there on the screen for you. Call in. We'd love to hear from you, but we're going to talk specifically about the gas tax. Probably going to pass here in the next couple of months. Yeah. And then also just maybe some alternatives to that, why it either needs to be passed or why it shouldn't be passed. And then also about kind of just taxes in general, not anything specific federally, because those are kind of, you know, locked in for now until the next round of spending. Yes. Until the president's budget comes out, then we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, and we can talk about that too. It's interesting what'll happen when he releases his budget, whether or not this Republican Congress, which has no political incentive to deal with it or pass it or anything, has to kind of look at those folks that elected them and say, hey, look, listen, I know that we've been barking about passing the budget in the normal course because the Democratic Senate wouldn't do it, but come on. Yeah. So maybe talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, a little bit. So I think we're up to our break. We're going to be back right after this. We're going to tackle the gas tax and how Republicans who claim to hate taxes cannot wait to raise taxes here in the state of Iowa. We want to thank all of our sponsors: Betroshin Associates, Lubinas Law Firm, Halo Capital at DesMoinesInterestsRates.com, Des Moines Anesthesia, PC, 515-574-6442. They like to heal people. If you're having a surgery, you ought to give them a call. They're great anesthesiasts with together hundreds of years of experience. They also do a lot of pain management, so give them a call, 515-574-6442. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and go check us out on docandlefty.com. I got a couple of blogs coming out this week. Hopefully Blake will have one soon before, summer sometime. We'll be back We'll be back right after this break.
Betroshin Associates, how can I help you?
Betroshin Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. So, we should have saw it coming. I gotta say, Doc, that it's not a surprise, and it was fairly predictable. And honestly, they were talking about it the last session. Iowa is most likely going to get a new gas tax, somewhere around 10 cents per gallon is what's being proposed on all fuel sold in the state. And they're really excited about it. They're really pushing for it to happen. Especially a lot of the road and other construction interest groups are really pushing for it, especially now that gas prices have fallen so much over the last few months. Doesn't surprise me at all. The pain in a perceptual way won't be as big of a hit now that the price of gasoline has gone down so much, but maybe this is a surprise, not as big on the gas tax as some of your fellow Republicans. What?
Well, I think this is an issue that's going to get a lot of Republicans hung come the next election cycle. We're the ones that stand for lower taxes for the middle class and the working people. And when you increase such regressive tax, such as a gas tax, then you're going to have a whole lot of problems. You know, the last month or so, there's been a lot of people touting the economy, how well it's doing, and all that stuff. And not just people from Obama's corner, but a lot of people. So sitting on my can in the airport, I started doing a search. When did a lot of these numbers start popping up? Well, a lot of these numbers that started to improve only started to improve when the gas tax or when the gas prices started to come down.
Well, that's not exactly right.
That's not exactly right. Not for everything, but for a lot of the things people are touting, you know, the gas tax is definitely, or the gas prices have definitely helped our economy. People have more money to spend.
Well, that's true.
When you're our economy is based upon consumerism. So you to look at the consumer indexes that have improved, you can lay a lot of that right at the price at the foot of gas taxes.
Well, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop you right there because as far as the big indicators in the economy, the job growth, the GDP growth, the stock market, all those big things, those have been improving for several years at this point. Gas prices only fallen in the last 2 or 3 months, like since December, honestly.
But consumer indexes have really skyrocketed. I mean, if you're talking
we got
about
more
improved from 2008, yeah, because you can't go down from there. If you went down from there, you'd be in a depression. But if you're looking at people's real income and people's ability to spend, that really hasn't taken off until the gas prices have gone lower and lower. And that's what I'm talking about. So the thing is these politicians, I mean, let's just face it. Here in Iowa, we're going to increase our budget by another 5%. You know what? That's what got Chet Culver canned, is increasing the budget. In part.
And then a 10% across the board cut in 2007 when the economy tanked.
That didn't help. But the bottom line is Branstad has now increased the budget far more than anything Culver has done. And it's far more than anything Vilsack has done. Now he's starting to run out of some money. Well, let's go get the gas tax. Now let's discuss the merits of the gas tax. Well, I'm sure you know why we have a gas tax. Why don't you tell our listeners why we have a gas tax and what it's for?
We have a gas tax, and the folks that are sort of I'm going to call it gas tax because I like calling things what they are, and I'm not afraid of taxes. You know, and I also don't hate taxes reflexively, but it's pegged to road projects, infrastructure projects, and for the road use tax fund, which is a dedicated fund set aside from the general fund that is earmarked specifically for road and infrastructure projects and highway upkeep. One of the reasons why Iowa has some of the best highways, county roads, and interstates, because the interstate's a federal-state partnership in maintaining those, why they have such a high quality and why it is noticeable when you go, for example, into Missouri. You cross the border down there by Lamoni, you're in Missouri just by the state of the roads, is because we have this set aside fund that's fueled, or that's pumped money by the gas tax, and that's really that's the reason why we have it. That's the reason why we've dipped in. And I'm sure that, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine that over the years, from administration to administration, it's been dipped into because politicians can't help keeping their, wetting their beaks every once in a while on different things they need to do. But it is a fund that is protected and funded by the gas tax, different fees and stuff, registrations of cars and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my points that I was going to come back with. Lefty's absolutely right. These guys rate it. All you got to do is hit gas taxes. Just put that into Google, and the first 10 entries are all about how it's broken because politicians keep dipping into it. The part of the problem is we have plenty of money if we'd have left alone. It's a lot like Social Security. Everybody's always, oh geez, Social Security is going to go bankrupt, Medicare is going to go bankrupt. If the politicians would leave it alone, those are programs that have plenty of money. Mm-hmm. There are several. I read several articles about this. One out of Forbes, one out of CNN Money, and one out of the Wall Street Journal. And strangely enough, Forbes and CNN Money seem to just said, "Hey, this is broken. They need to be repaid. Borrowing from the general fund isn't the way to get this done. You need to go back, replace money that's been taken." The people at Wall Street Journal seem to take just a little bit different approach. They said, really, the taxes on the roads, if you wanted to make it so the roads are completely self-sufficient, you would need a tax of somewhere around $4 a gallon. That was very interesting. I went back and reread that several times. That was from one economist that had written in on an op-ed.
I don't know if that is. I mean that
is outrageous. But that's what position this guy took.
And I wonder if that's tagged with something that's a different area than Iowa.
He was trying to compare the tax that we pay here in the United States with taxes from around the world. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if we talked about this before or not, but roads in other countries are crap. I mean, if you've ever driven in another country, they are awful. We were in South Africa. I kid you not. There was a pothole 8 inches deep across half of the lanes of traffic on the interstate. And it was, I didn't think we were going to make it out of the car.
Yeah.
And that is a developed country. Roads in Europe, outside the Autobahn in Germany, suck. They're awful. And their taxes are sky high. And the problem is, we do want good infrastructure. How many bridges have to collapse before we start focusing on this?
And Iowa's are rated pretty poorly.
And they are. Most bridges across the U.S. are.
Yep.
And so we have to start looking at what are we going to do to fix this problem? Because I believe you're correct. Politicians rate it all the time. I don't think the answer is a higher gas tax. I think the answer is we need to reduce spending. Lefty and I will argue about that right after the break. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We want to say thank you to all of our sponsors. We want to say thank you to all of our listeners. Please follow us at Facebook, Twitter, and docandlefty.com. We'll be back right after this break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. We're talking about taxes, how they affect you, and, I don't know, whether or not we need them. On the side of reason is me. On the side of
the little people and the working class is me.
Yep, that's right.
And hardworking folk like DJ Matty G. That's who I'm fighting for.
That's right. So here's my question to you. We're talking about. It sounds like you're more on it sounds like this. I mean, this is what I know about you. You're more on the spending side of things. But I mean, honestly, if we don't have the cash and the roads are broken now, how would you address that? I mean, the gas tax. One of the reasons why the gas tax died a couple of years ago and why Branstad kind of suffered the defeat is because people were begging for property tax relief, and there was only enough political will and enough political capital from Branstad to push through an income tax or a property tax reduction in residential and commercial property. Well, now they're coming back. Hey, thank you for giving us the cuts on this side. Now you're going to raise the gas tax. That's what we were going to try and do 2 years ago, but we've done half of it. Now we've got to do the other half. Isn't that kind of a give and take that?
Well, no,
should happen?
I don't think that should happen. I think there ought to be spending reductions. I mean, let's look. I mean, one thing that irritates me more than anything else are bicyclists. All right, and there's a lot of things that irritate me more than bicyclists, but here's what irritates me about them. It isn't that they're bicyclists. I'm all for bicycling, but if you look at the number of miles of trail that we have in Iowa that are paved, and you look at the amount of money we spend every year to upkeep those trails, just the cost to lay it down per mile is somewhere around $130,000. That is a national average. It might have been less here. It might have been more here. I don't know. But either way, if you take the national average, multiply it by the number of miles we have, we spent over $90 million just in bike trails. That doesn't include maintenance. Well, I think overall in Iowa, for a semi-sport that people utilize at most half of the year, all right, we're spending a lot of money for that. There's a lot of other money in there that's wasted. I think we need to start taking a look at that before we start punishing the people that need these jobs, need to drive to jobs, and need to have food that's cheaper. I think we need to start reducing money before we start punishing those people. When you increase the gas tax, it affects everything. It doesn't just affect some things, everything. It affects your ability to produce food. It affects your ability to transport goods and services, including food. It hampers your ability to get around to the jobs that you need. People, I mean, you want to talk about choosing between gas and medicine. Right there is a basic question. I mean, we get hammered on the right all the time about picking between medicine and whatever other thing to live. Well, this is the same thing. We're not even back down to the price where it was when Bush left office. We're not even back down there. And already everybody's talking about, well, we need to hike it back up. We need to keep gas prices low. And there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons we need to keep gas prices low. There's a lot of extra ramifications. I was talking to a very intelligent gentleman this afternoon about oil prices. So, we can discuss that a little bit later.
Yep.
But from my perspective, don't you think that there is waste in the budget that could be eliminated? I mean, don't you believe that, or do you just believe that just cranking up taxes is the answer to the problem?
Well, I'm sure there's waste, but the issue is whenever anybody talks about waste in the budget, it never has anything to say. It's there's waste. Well, what are you talking about? Well, we're talking about waste.
Well, I'm specifically talking about. I can list it. I mean, maybe that's a show we ought to have a little bit later. What is wasteful spending?
Well, So let's talk. We all know that state and federal budgets are way different than your household budget. That you can't just cut from one thing to give to another. Yep. But we understand that. But for purpose of this discussion, okay, we know that infrastructure has an issue, and we know that gas prices are low, so that a 10 cent or a 9 cent or whatever it happens to be extra is not going to kill people immediately. I can't necessarily argue that increasing a tax on something isn't going to increase the cost of something else. I can't responsibly argue that point. I can argue that spread out the way that it is and distributed amongst several million people, that the effect of that is not going to be as dire as some people seem to think it will be. But here's my question. If we're not going to raise a revenue stream to fix the roads, ostensibly, where in the budget are you going to take the money to reallocate to that?
Well,
from where?
Well, first of all, I just said one place to stop the bike trail, stop building those, stop maintaining them. If these people want to get out there and ride on it, then they can start paying a user fee and everything else, just like cars do, just like motorcycles do. All right. That's number one. That'd be my first choice. Second thing, let's start looking at how much it costs just to run the government. There's a lot of costs associated with just the nuts and bolts of it that really go out the window. 3, let's look at our how we utilize contractors, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people out there contracting that really are, it's just a, tit for tat kind of thing. And I'm not just trying to point at Branstad and say, oh, he purposely does that. Everybody does it. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, one of my favorite politicians of all time is Matt Schultz, and look what happened to him, right? So you need to start eliminating some of that stuff.
So
the fourth thing I do is I make sure that you can't raid that. You can't raid that the gas tax money. I'd make that so that it stands on its own,
and it may very well. I don't have any information that it's a fund that they can just get into to go and pay for other stuff, but I assume that it has in the past. That's what because that's just something that
and that's what Google shows me.
Sounds reasonable.
So,
but okay, so the cost of running government, that sounds like partially you would lay people off.
Well, I would definitely look at jobs that are redundant. There are a lot of jobs that The problem is governments half the time I believe the government is in the business of employing the unemployable, and there's a lot of just bureaucracy and repetition in there. And you know this as well as I do. How many forms you got to file for something just to do? I mean, there's a lot of redundancy. And I think that they could streamline government quite a bit. Yeah,
but what would that look? So the folks that are in, I mean, I can just imagine. I can imagine a world where you have a streamlined government, whatever that looks like, and I don't know that either one of us can really imagine that specifically. So we've streamlined. We have all this cash now, and what now? It's up to 6 people instead of 10 to get the money to where it needs to be to fix the bridge doesn't get the votes. You see what I'm saying?
Well, and I understand it's going to be painful and difficult. This is a painful and difficult situation we're in. That's the truth. So when we get back, I'm going to ask Lefty this question. Why would you want to put more burden on people by increasing the gas tax? Why not try to cut waste and try to avoid raising taxes? That's the question we're going to ask right when we get back. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Bertrosian Associates, Lubinas Law Firm, Halo Capital at DesMoinesInterestrates.com, Des Moines Anesthesia PC at 515-574-6442. They do a lot of pain management, so you want to look them up. Follow us at Facebook and Twitter, along with DocandLefty.com. We'll be back right after this break. Thank you to Maddie G to being in the office today. Hi, Katya. Hi, Dasha. We'll be right back after this break.
Bertrosh & Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertroshandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertroche and Associates.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. So, Pat, you posed a question to me. Now, I got to say, you posed the question as if raising taxes or cutting waste are mutually exclusive things, and they're not. Obviously, that was what,
and I would agree.
That was the one thing that if you talk, who are those? Oh, man, I can't now. The two senators, no, those two senators that came up with the budget report way back in like 2010.
Simpson was
Simpson
one.
Bowles, yeah. Simpson Bowles, their report said, hey, we got to raise revenues and we got to cut spending. And that's the only way that we're ever going to get to somewhere like a balanced budget or, rein the debt in. The deficit is already kind of, dropping like a lead stone. I guess all stones are lead is stone. You know what I'm talking about. So, but no, this idea that we can only do one or the other. I mean, you can certainly cut waste in government. Just have to be able to identify what that waste looks like. And the reason why it's so difficult is that waste in government does not know a political stripe. It is rampant throughout the system, regardless of whether it's red waste or blue waste. Yes. And so, the minute that you have all of these Republicans marching up and down the steps of the legislature here in Des Moines or Capitol Hill in Washington D.C., screaming about waste in government, and the minute that one of their precious cash cows is touched, or even, Senator or Representative so-and-so from Alabama, we could probably close that military base that hasn't done much, but cost us money. Or, hey, Democrat from West Virginia, we can probably impose an extra tax on your on that coal mine that's such a huge contributor to you. Then they start pulling their hair out like you have imposed the worst kind of punishment imaginable, when it really is just politics. One of the things, a guy that I listen to, his podcast I listen to, Mike Pesk, talks a lot about this, says he can't even listen to a reasonable discussion about taxes because it's demagogues so badly. Well, if we're talking about raising taxes bar none is bad, well, that's clearly not true. Sometimes you have sometimes you have to do that. Yeah, you have to do it. Reagan knew that he had to do it. Bush W knew he had to do it. Clinton knew he had to do it, and Barack Obama knew that sometimes you got to raise some taxes on some people. But here's what I'll agree with you on. I think that it would be a lot more palatable and a lot less onerous to folks if they had a better sense that our government was spending the money that it raised in a more responsible way. Absolutely. I can't argue with that. I had a question. I had a conversation with a very conservative person who's an old college classmate of mine, very conservative, and we just broke it down. We got into the specifics, because if you talk about specific uses, people are, and this is like everything with government, you break it down in its component parts, people are fine with it. Well, taxes go to pay for schools, right? Well, yeah, we need schools. Well, taxes go to pay for medicine for old people. Yeah, we need medicine for old people, until it builds up into this thing. Well, no, we can't have taxes for any of that stuff, right? But what she said was, if I had a say, or if I thought my voice was being listened to, where I said, hey, look, I'm sorry, Philadelphia, I live in Iowa. I don't care. I'm not picking on the people from Philadelphia. Listeners of Philadelphia, we love you. We think that you're great. My baseball team is going to be better than your baseball team this year. That's what's going to happen. But anyway, so we don't care about your schools as much as we care about our own schools. We care about your schools in a nebulous way. So maybe if I could personally ask the government to direct more of my tax money to an Iowa thing that I'm more worried about, except that that's completely unworkable as a system. And she understands that. She's not a foolish person by any means, but if she felt like she had more of a voice and the government was more responsive to particular concerns, and that's not a taxing spending problem, that's a throw the bums out, get new blood kind of problem.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. The part of the problem is, particularly with Reagan, since you bring that up a lot, part of the problem was it was a deal he struck with the Democrats, where he would agree to raise some taxes if they agreed to reduce spending. Well, we got the reduced taxes, but he never got the reduced spending. That's part of the problem, at least from conservatives like me, is we've already done the will increase taxes if you reduce spending, but we never seem to get the reduced spending.
Well,
that's part of the problem. And
you can't peg that on Democrats, though. That you do this all the time because
you're right.
George W. Bush raised taxes more than anybody else did.
You're right, and this is what frustrates conservatives, particularly fiscal conservatives like me. Here you have Branstad, who is, I mean, remember when Tom Shaw was on and he was defending, his, we only grew the government by 3%. Why are you growing government by 3%? Well, it's a cut. How is that a cut?
Because I think that he was trying to, from his perspective, and I'm gonna defend our super friend of the show, Tom Shaw, just for a minute, because I know that you got that beef with him, but I think he was more trying to put a
positive spin on it,
put a nice sheen on a worn leather purse. Because I don't think that he liked that the government growing, and I don't have any issues with that particular bill. You have to increase the pie a little bit, even if it's by fiat, and it just sometimes it happens.
Well, yeah, but the thing is we get a percentage. I mean, that's how taxes in general work, except for the gas tax. In general, you pay a percentage of whatever, and these accountants get together and they come up with all kinds of things. And they take a percentage of everything. The problem is you can't turn around without running into a tax. We have sales tax, we have property taxes, we have gas taxes, we got taxes on your clothes, we got taxes everywhere. At what point do we say enough taxes and let's start reducing spending? We don't need, and if you want to talk about infrastructure, we don't need bicycle trails. We don't need them. We just don't. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no,
you said you wanted to say something.
Well, no, and I think that segues into our next point. This is something that you and I have talked about a lot. We are, or you are critical. I'm more ambivalent because I feel like our money, taxes are owed. They're going to be owed no matter what, and they don't always go to pay for things that I certainly didn't want my tax money to go and fund to.
Absolutely.
Decades-long wars in the Middle East. I certainly didn't want my tax money to fund a sort of shadowy, don't quite know it's legal drone action in Pakistan. I certainly didn't want my tax money to go to warrantless wiretaps and NSA dragnets of all metadata in every email and every phone call in this darn country. Certainly didn't want my taxes spent on that, but I'm ambivalent on it because the taxes are going to, it all sort of just conceptually goes into one pot, and then we elect leaders to distribute it as best as they can, and that sometimes they don't do as good a job as we want them to.
Well, they don't do good jobs. Period.
What is the alternative? You and I have talked a lot about the alternative, because you're right, we have lots of different kinds of taxes: property taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, gas taxes. There's
eyeglass taxes.
Medical device taxes.
Yep.
To name specific kinds of things. But all of those are theoretically sort of attached to different kinds of issues. We have an income tax now because sales and property taxes back in the early part of the 20th century stopped cutting it. We needed more money, partially to fund World War I and then World War II. So what is it? What would be the alternative? You know what I think would be interesting, but I want to hear what the alternative for you would be.
All right. We're going to come back with that. What are some alternatives to our current taxation system? That's going to be the question on the table. I'm going to start it up when we get back right after this break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I want to thank all of our sponsors and everybody for listening tonight. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Go to docandlefty.com. We're also on YouTube. I keep forgetting that. And we want to thank our sponsors, PetrosianAssociates.com, LubinusLawFirm.com, Halo Capital, and Des Moines Anesthesia. We'll be back right after this break.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're buzzing through this hour just like a nice hot spoon through half melted ice cream. I gotta say that this conversation that we've been having, I think you and I are, boy, I mean, we're at opposite ends of the spectrum with respect to whether or not we even need this kind of stuff. But I think that we have in the past found a little common ground on what we'd like to see instead. And and here's one. I'm gonna start this off with alternatives
this time?
because here's why. You and I recognize that we have a consumerist economy, that our economy has changed from industry, savings and investment to debt financing and consumerism. That's just how it's been for a long, long time, especially when we stopped being the world's maker and started being the world's consumer. We import a lot of cheap stuff. We make a lot of cheaper stuff. I was watching one of those old History Channel what is it? We as Americans, like Our Story or whatever. Yeah. You know what the show that I'm talking about.
You bet.
And they were talking about how the turn of the 20th century, right around the end of the 19th century, when we laid all the rail and we were the biggest industrial power, and we were really kicking everybody's rear end and output and exports and stuff. And we still export a lot.
We do.
The world's biggest exporter after China, I think.
Yep.
And maybe Japan. Well, Japan not as much anymore. But so we're still a big exporter of goods, which is fine. But that's not how our economy operates anymore. And as a good Marxist, as a good and even better socialist, I gotta say, consumerism makes me feel a little icky. It makes me feel a little crappy. I remember, and this is even before I got my hammer and sickle wings when I was in college. When I was in high school, I remember this story. My mom's family, all my family has pretty much moved to Minneapolis now. But back when it was just my mom's older brother, went up there to visit him. Went to the Mall of America for the first time. I was probably middle school, early high school age. And that place is huge. I just remember feeling just completely uncomfortable with how much buying and selling was going on, how many people were engaged in consuming things. And so a tax on consumption to me makes a lot of sense. Just, I don't know. I'm not a person that can advocate for this. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know how it affects specific economies in a negative or positive way, but a tax, especially a tax that encourages some consumption and discourages others, it makes a lot of sense to me, because that's all a tax is. Now, libertarian folks are going to get mad at me for suggesting that, but our taxes already do that. And that's really the best way, and one of the only ways, aside from coercive government power and putting people in prison, that the government has to encourage or discourage different types of behavior, or even have an influence whatsoever with what tax and what it doesn't. We have a lot less smoking now because smoking taxes or tax on cigarettes went up so high. So a tax on consumption makes a certain amount of sense to me. That's why I'm not as gung-ho against a gas tax as you. We lower a little bit of that consumption. Maybe it has positive environmental benefits. Maybe it has positive health benefits, people biking more.
Well, but here's one of the things. I mean, I'm going to speak exactly that last issue. The problem is, and this is one of the things that all economists agree on, the reduction in gas consumption, in other words, more economical vehicles, ones that are much more efficient, have in part led to the problem that we don't have enough money in the gas tax.
Yep. That's true. That's true. I know.
So the thing is that what point do you go, well, hold on. We have a gas tax. We don't want people to drive, but yet when we start running short of money, we're going to increase the gas, which is going to lead to another round of shortages.
Yeah.
And it's just a merry-go-round. And that's when I get back to, and particularly in this case, a gas tax is a terrible idea. Increasing it, I think gas tax period is a terrible idea, but increasing it is an even worse idea. There's all kinds of reasons why Republicans should not even touch this in Iowa. No Republican governor should be even touching
So
this.
why are they?
Yeah, I will tell you, it boils down to revenues. They want to improve the infrastructure. This is an easy thing to do. They go in, they rate it, and there's all kinds of alternatives to this. There's all kinds of, here's part of the problem. Some people that utilize fuel, utilize it off-road. All right. Mm-hmm. Farmers, right? They don't have to pay a gas tax because apparently the government considers it that they don't use the roads like the rest of us do. I can tell you, if you've driven down Highway 92 or up in your neck of the woods.
I'm on Highway 92 a lot.
Yeah.
Highway 5 a lot.
So in the spring and fall, you don't go that fast over the hill because there's going to be a combine or something sitting right there. Right. And you always tell somebody new to Iowa because they fly past you over the hills. You don't do that in Iowa. That'd be a good way to get smashed into.
Well, you get over in the left lane, you make the guy behind you really mad because he doesn't get what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. So, so it's just not going to, that's not going to work. Start making people that use the gas pay for the gas. Number one. Number two, there's a lot of unregistered people out there using the streets. Bicyclists. I'm talking to you. I have my motorcycle, yes, does weigh a little bit more, but does not cause any more problems to the concrete than your bicycle. How come we have to pay through our taxes for you to enjoy a sport half of the year? That's not fair. They should be registered just like everything else. Go ahead. You had something you want to say?
I don't know that. Boy, you're talking about more registrations and more regulations just in general kind of gets me all hot and bothered. So I can't really defend.
Well, and a shout out to our friend Ed, who's a true believer. I'm glad you're riding your bike. You should just register it and have to pay a use tax like everybody else does.
I don't know that. Well, and it would be interesting to see what he had to say about that because he is a big bike sort of guy. I got a buddy of mine who's a bicyclist enthusiast. A bicyclist just in general, I guess. But specifically, taxing consumption to me makes so much more sense than, say, taxing income, right? Because just in a broad, sweeping idea, if taxing more of something means that you're going to get less of it, then, boy, I'd like a lot more income and a lot less consumption. Am I wrong?
That's tricky.
I know it's true. I know, but that's what's so interesting about it.
Well, I will tell you, I think taxes on consumerism slows down our marketplace, right? It does. Taxes on consumerism doesn't necessarily help hurt consumerism. What it does is hurt manufacturers who produce so much of our income, and they're such a small segment. You don't want them to keep going away. So, you have to balance that consumption tax. What we know is when we had added a consumption tax, the I can't remember what they call it, but it was a luxury tax. All boat building stopped. It stopped dead. Boat builders went out of business right and left because that's a luxury item. People building motorcycles, they really struggled, right? Harley Davidson is about the only one that made it through there, and they were really beat up. They started marketing to women for the first time. That's really what saved them. So the bottom line is, I can see a consumption tax, but we get back to the original point of there's so many things that we waste money on that we need to start reducing it.
Well, but I'm not saying
spending.
I'm not saying both. I'm saying I think some economists made the argument. Now, I've been dancing around it because I know that every time I mention this, your hair stands on end, and I feel like you're going to punch me.
All right. We're going to get back to this right after break. It's a suspension one. We'll be back right after this break. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Take it away, Matty G.
Bertroche and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website, ProchAndAssociates.com, for more information, or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertroche and Associates.
Welcome back, everybody. You're right about that. You're right about that. I think that's a good plan. I just got Pat to agree to just taxes on everybody. And if you're a liberal and vote Democrat, you should have a penalty of 25%. If you guys like payable to the Doc and Lefty program,
payable to Doc and Lefty.
Yeah, we will take care of it. We will take your money. We will dress it up in a nice bassinet. We will coddle it. It'll be half the time at your place, half the time at my place. And
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
and we'll have DJ Matty G come by and make sure that we're doing everything right.
That's right. A third independent party, inspector general kind of person to make sure that
and we will spend it wisely.
I don't know about that. I don't know about
because
that.
you see, that's the difference between conservatives and Democrats.
I don't know about.
He's even saying, I don't know if I'm
not going to spend it wisely.
I
know I was going to get you something really nice.
Oh. We were just talking about cutting waste from the show.
well, don't. I know what that means. You're coming from my seat. Anyway, no. So we've been dancing around it, and every time we've talked about this specifically, at least 2 other times on the program over the years. And I am not advocating for it because I don't know enough about it. But boy, it seems to make a certain amount of sense. Why couldn't we replace the income tax? The income tax, your big bugaboo. You hate the income tax.
I do.
All conservatives hate the income tax.
I do.
In fact, there are a lot of conservatives that think it's unconstitutional.
There are.
But why can't we replace it with a value-added tax? Why can't we go?
Would we truly replace it?
Truly, no. We would income tax gone. No income tax. It would be illegal in all 50 states, and the federal income tax would be gone. The IRS would be there dispensing the VAT, collecting and dispensing the VAT. Value-added tax, tax on consumption, a tax on how products are manufactured and flow through the chain of commerce. Some things will be taxed more heavily if they're,
Yeah, but we already have that kind of tax. That's part of the problem.
We don't, though.
Whenever this, I want to use my eyeglasses. One, there's taxation on importing whatever raw materials are coming in. There's a tax on that. It's an import tax. So if I'm having to use, or even better, my phone, the stuff that makes the phone work is imported from China. Why? Because they're the only people that have that. All right. So the bottom line is this is already taxed under an import tax. Then it gets manufactured. And then there's taxes associated with manufacturing, property taxes and the rest of it. So by the time I buy the phone, 22% of my phone has already been taxed. I mean, 22% of the expenses of my phone is taxed. So if you're talking getting rid of the income tax and replacing with a VAT tax, really what you're talking about is we're just going to add more tax to stuff that we already consume. Now, I'm all for getting rid of the income tax. I think it's an interesting idea. If we could actually trust the Democrats to get rid of the income tax and introduce a VAT tax, that'd be terrific.
I think it would.
But it isn't just the income and VAT tax. There's so many other taxes as well that it's just incredible how many fingers the government has in your pie.
Well, as a responsible person who does not own real property. And I say responsible because, what I like more than anything is I can pick up and leave at any time. I don't care.
Yes.
But no, as a person that owns real property, I only have an academic interest in this. But it is weird, isn't it? That you gotta pay the government for the privilege of living on your own land. That we have private property ownership, but boy, those taxes every year.
Yeah, and that's incredible. One of the things, and this is what I think is. I'm going to go out way off base on this one. I'm just letting people know. One of the things that you have to do in order to get into the EU is you have to have a property tax. You have to have an income tax set up, and you have to have a property tax. Well, Eastern Bloc nations don't have a property tax. They just don't. Poroshenko just tried to introduce a bill for income taxes in Ukraine, and everybody's like, we can't do it. We can't afford it. It's only $73 for a house in Ukraine. That's the tax that they're wanting to introduce. And the people that live there go, well, we won't be able to afford to pay the tax. That's part of the problem. There are a lot of places without property taxes. And I think Blake hit it right on the head. You know, you have to pay for the privilege of living in your own property. And, you know, at what point do you stop and go, well, hold on, how many taxes are you doing? You know, really what I'd like to see, I would like to see just a flat rate tax. If you live in America, you have to pay a tax to live here. There's no property tax. There's no, income tax. There's just a tax. Just you have to pay so much in a year to live here. It can be based upon income. What would you think of that? I was talking to a guy on the plane on the way from
You mean it can or it can't? It's not based on income?
No, it wouldn't be based on income. You live here, you have to pay a tax if you want to participate in everything else.
So I make $1,000 a month because for whatever reason I am 18 or I have a broken back, and the tax is $250 a year.
Yeah. Well, think about it this way. If he's making $1,000 a month, by the time he gets done paying taxes on this, paying taxes on his real property, paying taxes on his income, paying taxes on any other purchases he makes, he's still going to be paying the same amount of money.
Well,
he's
but
probably going to be paying a whole lot more.
So I'm making $1,000 a month. I have to pay what, $250 a year? Every person, 300 million people, $250 a year.
Sure.
That sounds like a lot bigger of a problem for me at $1,000 a month than it is for somebody who's making $50,000 a month.
And that's part of the problem that we have now. I mean, people now are making more money because of inflation, right? And now there is
no inflation though. There's no inflation. If it's like there's no inflation right now. We haven't had inflation.
It's low. It's a low where we're not having deflation. So either it's zero or it's almost inflation.
Okay, fine. It's almost completely zero.
But there are times when inflation takes off, and people, as they make more actual dollars, get stuck by something called the AMT, which is not based upon percentages, but a flat fee.
Well, that's only you can make that choice if you think you're going to have a better outcome under the AMT than.
Well, but I would just like a different kind of taxation system. I would like one that doesn't give the government this much control over what goes on. I mean, you hit it on the head. If you want to control people's behavior, you tax what you don't want them to do. The problem is you're controlling their behavior. You're not allowing them to fully express their freedom in the way that they should be able to. Taxes are very regressive.
Except those same people elected the people that are doing that to them. So we don't have a totalitarian system where we have one guy making decisions for everybody. We have 535, mostly men, making decisions about how we're going to be taxed and so on. And the point that I would add to this, because I disagree, but not I don't think that you're completely wrong. My point is this. If you have problems with how things work, we have a government that is becoming less and less responsive and has been for an awfully long time, regardless of party. Take an interest. Get involved. Write a letter, even though that's kind of dumb now. Make a phone call. Or put your ideas out there. This age is the most communicative, most easily accessible age in human history to this point. Folks, you got two jerks decided to do a radio show a few years ago, and we've been around this long spouting opinions. It's easy. The bar to entry to the political process is very, very low. The bar to leadership is really, really expensive, but you can get involved and make your voice heard. I think we got a lot of people who are like me, who are fed up, but are pretty sure that we're stuck, and we're not. The truth is we're not.
Well, and I'm going to show agreeing.
We do a lot of bad news at the end of the show, and this is
this
kumbaya.
is positive. This is kumbaya, because I agree 100% with Lefty. I think people from both sides of the spectrum, people in the middle, all feel that nobody's listening to them. And if you want, go out there and get involved. I got involved. Lefty is slowly getting involved. I mean, he's got other things going on in his life besides politics that need to be taken care of. But the bottom line is go out and get involved. Write letters. Write to congressmen. Say, I want this. You know, I think we're going to end that on a positive note. Thanks
Absolutely.
everybody for tuning in. Got anything coming up this week?
I've got a gig at Blue Moon West Des Moines on Wednesday.
Oh,
Tomorrow. That's tomorrow night.
Woo! I'm going to try to make that.
That's
I always
going to be
promise,
good.
But sometimes
I know, but if you did, you probably increase the audience from 0 to 1.
Oh well.
Wednesdays of Blue Moon are a little sparse.
Now,
but
can I wear my headphones in there so I can listen to good music? Or
absolutely,
no,
absolutely, you can.
All right, good,
you can.
Good. All right.
And yeah, it'll be a good time.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.
Love these guys. Get over here. Get over here. Love both.